Yeah, there's a little bit of time. You have time to catch up.
Yeah, 14 years behind.
Yes, it is. I'm old, okay? Just keep saying I'm old.
Hey, I want to get there. I'm tired of being in the open already.
It's true. You should probably work on being a big boy as opposed to a small boy first.
I got like 3 chicken thighs in my container right now.
I mean, there's a problem first. It's chicken. Well, it's chicken thighs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not breast, it's chicken thighs.
It's still
It rotates between that and steak and everything.
And carbs.
Well, yeah, that's
Lots
what the
of
rice
carbs.
is for.
More than just rice.
Milk.
Milk is not a carb.
It's everything.
No, it's a fat.
It's all of that.
No, it's a fat. It has more calories from fat.
That's why you get 1%.
Then it's a carb. This is ridiculous. Gallon of milk, unless you're using D-ball, doesn't matter. Okay, so
What's up?
the podcast is back officially.
Yeah.
We're actually going to do this on a regular basis at this point. But we're doing this one impromptu because Wyatt just triggered the shit out of me, literally talking about USAPL drug testing. So, Wyatt, you want to set the stage for the post that just set me off?
I guess we're calling them out directly. USAPL posted a thing boasting about some water regulations, which I don't really know what they're getting at, but that water's under some scrutiny, and USAPL is really priding themselves on their testing and whatnot, which that's a whole debate in itself. But just my main issue is the core of their post was, we don't care about your total, you're getting tested regardless, which that seems odd to me. Like, why would I care about someone with, I'll use dots as a reference just because I don't want to arbitrarily say total, but like, why would I care with someone with a 200 or 300 or 350 dots getting tested at a local meet? Why would I care about anyone getting tested at a local meet, really? That's my question.
So let's backtrack.
Yeah.
Because the scrutiny is actually a very important piece here. The scrutiny is actually one of the things that led to IPF and the USAPL to split years ago. So essentially, the IPF specifically got all up in USAPL's business because they essentially weren't holding the standard for the IPF. I do that, if you're listening, in quotation marks here, for the drug testing that was a standard for IPF, which is essentially to drug test everyone through a World Anti-Doping Agency lab. The issue is that's super cost prohibitive. It's very expensive through WADA. It's very difficult through WADA, and it would actually decrease the total testing pool of USAPL athletes. So that's kind of the first contention, and now they're under scrutiny because they're not testing at the local level. They're not testing at small meets. They're not testing everybody at every level. IPF and WADA are specifically testing higher level elite athletes because it's cost prohibitive. However, I also find it a little cost exorbitant because the USAPL got caught using, I think it was USADA and local labs.
Something like that, yeah.
To run the number of tests that they were doing, which IPF said wasn't up to standard and not a good enough test and all this other bullshit, because it was, at least people were still getting tested. My whole thing, though, is like, even at a local event, you should test the top performers. Like, I don't see the point. I think it's ridiculous to test everybody and just completely randomize it, because in reality, like, you're throwing money into the fire. Like, it seems like a waste of funds. It seems like a waste of a test. And really, like, dots aside, I think your top performers in a drug-tested federation earn the right to get tested by being the top performers. So if you're going to test at a local meet, you should test your podium people. You should test people who win first place. You should test those people, especially in competitive open divisions. Like, if you're a M1 and you're the only person in your weight class, like, maybe you can not get tested there. But at that level, if there's 5 people competing in the open at 83s men, like, the top 2 or 3 people should get tested. And that should fill out the standard pools to make sure that there's fairness to people who are going to elevate to the next level. And that's to me, like, test the people who are going to elevate to the next level, and the people who are going to be here at local meets and just do local meets. Who gives a shit? Why are we spending testing money on that?
Well, because I'd love to see too, like more testing at those national level events, at those big ones where you are seeing more of the like, or you should be seeing more of the cream of the crop. And if you're seeing higher levels, you're probably more likely to see drug usage. Now, the one issue would be is like if let's say you take away all local testing and you do all of it at nationals, which would, like, I like the idea of that. You are missing out on someone using maybe banned substances that are banned for the like day, like a pre-workout that has a like that's what Ray Williams recently got suspended by the IPF for, was he used the wrong pre-workout. And so you wouldn't catch people doing that. But again, those are smaller differences. They're less important to me. I just think we should be getting more testing of those higher level athletes and of those higher level competitions, and putting emphasis on the number of tests we have now should go more towards those things, in my opinion, rather than testing some random 45-year-old that has, you know, just competes locally and has fun. Like, I don't care about testing him.
Yeah, you should test for the F1 drugs, not the fucking truck series drugs.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Why are we worried about certain things here and not going after people who, in some cases, very obviously are on anabolics? Like, let's call it out, right? There are instances where it's like, wow, that person hasn't been tested in 5 years. Like, what is going on? And we're gonna be okay with a contaminated pre-workout, which is always the story. It was the story in CrossFit. It was the story with Jesse Norris back in the day. It's always the story. Like, this person just gets nipped for some tainted supplement. I've watched guys that I know just ran a block of tren not get tested, and they're literally on the platform at a local meet fucking shaking from all the shit they're on, and they don't get tested, and they finished first and they blew everybody out. And it's like, okay, what, they go to regionals, same thing happens, because it's fully randomized. Instead of being able to look and be like, that dude's loaded, like, go test him. No, we're going to randomize it. No, stop wasting your money. Test the people who need to be tested. Test the top 3, especially at nationals. Test everybody in prime time. Like, test the people who need it. And stop white knighting this entire drug testing thing, because fundamentally it is a waste of money and lifter resources to go after some of this low-hanging, like, people who really just don't need to be tested. And for what? For what virtue? How is that actually protecting the sport by testing people at the lowest level of the sport? What integrity are we actually holding if we're not testing the people at the highest level sufficiently?
Yeah, I'd agree. And honestly, just again, if you're that local lifter, like, you probably just want to have fun at the meet. I don't want to have to pay, I don't know the numbers, but I don't want to have to pay however much more just because it's a drug tested meet. I do remember USPA, there used to be like I want to say $20 or $30 difference. And when you're a kid in college, that matters. And I just remember I'd be like, well, it'd be nice, but I have this idea that I should be a drug tested athlete. And so I'm going to pay the extra $30 for that registration. And it's just like, I'd rather that higher cost be when it's more people getting tested rather than, yeah, I got tested for 300 dots.
Well, and here's like one other thing on this before we wrap it up. The culture's also changed too. You know, people are actively looking for drug tested meets. It's not like it's the only option that they have anymore.
Yeah.
And really doing an untested meet, you're not seeing a whole bunch of people come and try to beat tests anymore the way they used to try to come and beat tests. Because before, especially with the growth of the sport generally speaking, and the multitude of different federations, which is 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, if you ask me, there's options to do each one. Like, especially in Maryland 10 years ago, you know, when Jones and I and everybody was competing, and everything was USAPL or everything was 100% raw. There weren't untested alternatives for people who were on stuff. So they had to go and they had to try to beat these tests. And like I said, I saw a guy literally not get tested 2 meets in a row, obviously on trend. Like, there's no question this dude was to the gills, and he didn't get tested, but he would have tried to beat the test anyway. You don't see that happening as often now because the culture around it has changed. People want to do natural bodybuilding. They want to do natural powerlifting. So they gravitate towards drug tested stuff, and there are more options for them in certain regions where they're not forced to try to beat the test. So instead of overcorrecting for that old culture, like let's actually evolve to the new culture and let's go and start testing the people who are needed to be tested to uphold the integrity of the sport. So like that's my take on it, because we have to also look at how the sport's evolved. And it has evolved past 2015, where you could buy a P kit at GNC. You probably still can.
Yeah.
But like, I'm going to get off my soapbox, because I'll also tell you that I think those people trying to beat tests aren't fucking good enough to even be on the stuff they're on to begin with. But that's a whole nother conversation.
That could be another rant for you.
Yep.
Maybe next week?
Maybe tomorrow. Shit, I don't care. Any final words here, Wyatt?
I'd just say, like, even when I was in Montana, where you pretty much had USAPL that showed up once or twice a year, and USPA, you had the option. USPA, they now do the simultaneous drug tested and untested in the same flight. Even you're just designated at the end on who gets tested, and there's plenty of other smaller feds that are like NPL or.
I don't agree with them being mixed in flights. The smell in the room is completely different.
When it's as small as Montana, there is.
When you're in a warm up room, you should have a tested flight and an untested flight, because the untested people are stinky. That should 100% be separated.
Most of the untested people in Montana were older dudes on TRT.
It's all stinky. It's just everybody smells.
Hey, I was in a 20-person meet.
I'm just saying.
If they didn't, I'd be in like a 5-person flight.
You take the 6 stinky people and you put them in their own flight, okay? That's just how it should be. It's the best way to go about it, trust me.
I also accidentally signed up for the untested that meet, but...
Oh, how is your soul? Has it left your body? Do you still feel like you have integrity? I've had people ask me that. Like, well, you signed up for an untested meet. Yeah, at the time I had 6 people lifting in the tested thing. I wanted a place for myself, please.
It's just fun. It's just lifting.
It's okay.
I'm not going anywhere with it.
All right. So like I said, we're back. Like, subscribe. This is actually 100% going to be coming out weekly with random rants and back to some of my old stuff where I just hit solo. So like, subscribe, rate the show, share it with your friends. It helps us out a ton. Appreciate it. See you next time.
See y'all.